like to lead us tonight, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Linda. That's what you get for 2 nights in a row. But no, thank you. Roll call, please.
Those present are Mayor Shaw, Council Members Baker, Johnson, Armbruster, Kemp, and McVeigh. Staff present is myself, Clerk Treasurer, and City Attorney. And that is everyone tonight.
Okay, look for approval of agenda, please.
Move to approve the agenda. Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed 5-0. Thank you very much, Council.
I move to approve the consent agenda to include the May 10th, 2022 meeting minutes, the May 24th, 2022 claim vouchers, 7325 through 7326, and 4 EFTs in the amount of $137,483.82. Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve our consent agenda. Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed 5-0. Thank you, Council. Anybody in the audience want to speak on public comment besides our presentation tonight?
No.
Okay. Since we're basically only meeting tonight for the presentation about 4th of July Festival, I'd like to save that and finish up. Any new business we have? I don't think we have any new business. Okay, so we'll go to unfinished business, which is the We Love Rainier agreement that Bill has worked up for us. Everything is kosher of how we can do that. Dennis, I know you were questioning before. Bill and Tammy had a little discussion, and I was brought involved in it just to make sure everything's done right. We just have to have some paperwork from We Love Rainier that basically addresses how many community hours they're using and what they use the funds for. Tammy got information from the city of Yelm of how they do it to the senior center, and Tammy and I looked through that, and Bill and We Love Rainier met here a couple minutes ago to kind of go through what they need to provide to us, and then Tammy can write a check, and it basically shows the 5 functions they've done in the year, $250, $500 a function, and put the community hours in, and then that covers everything that will protect us, and Bill's okay with all that. Did I say anything you need to add anymore, or did I address it all?
I think we're okay.
Okay, so I would hope somebody would make a motion that we pass this ordinance.
I'd like to make a motion that we pass the ordinance.
Or is it an ordinance?
Just agreement.
It's an agreement. My mistake, it's an agreement.
Excuse me. Agreement with We Love Rainier and City Rainier. Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the agreement with We Love Rainier and some financial support. Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you, guys.
So we'll come back to our presentation from Wade. Just so the council knows, we found out about this right after the last council meeting. So Tammy and I think Dennis was in here the day, and maybe Tom. It happened to be that they were both in here, so we decided to have a meeting right away. So we could get an answer for Wade. I know Tammy sent some information out to you. I just talked to Wade, and I think it'll even shorten down the process tonight. He is not going to have fireworks display, so it's just going to be a festival. But I think that'll shorten down a lot of the questions when he just shared with me that he can tell you why they decided not to have fireworks, hopefully next year. Basically, Mike Elliott, it's been 4 years since he's done his fireworks, and he's not licensed anymore, is he?
I don't know.
But he wasn't interested in doing it. So I think that'll shorten down questions you may have. Wade, it's up to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members. So I appreciate you guys convening for this special session. So as you guys have in front of you are the slides. So if you'd like to take notes, they have questions at the end for the question period. We don't have to try to remember what questions you had at what point or what slide you're on. Slides are presented behind you as well. So if you'd like to look up there, you're welcome to. So the proposal is for us to, so let me go ahead and give you a little bit of background of myself and who I am. This guy that just showed up all of a sudden, so you kind of know where I'm coming from, what my core values are, and how that fits with what Rainier is, or what it seems to be as I'm learning. So I'm been in the Washington State my entire life. Born in Portland, Oregon, raised in Vancouver, Washington. Slowly made my way up. I have a 20-acre farm in Tenino, over by the Speedway. I have 4 kids. I've been in the military for 21 years. This month, or maybe first week of next month, I officially retired from the Army National Guard. National Guard is the security force for the state of Washington, so I've been part of that. Most of my career was a recruiter with retention non-commissioned officer, so I did community events almost exclusively for the National Guard. I did a lot of this type of coordinating stuff. My passion has always been business. So what I've done throughout my military career in conjunction as well, I produce a nationally qualifying fitness competition every year as well. It's one of those passions I kind of fell into. So I'm very familiar with putting together events, teams, and coordinating. The military spent a lot of money in teaching me how to talk to people as well, and also how to put together events and put the best foot forward for the organization I represent. So I had an opportunity to start a business, Allstate Insurance Agency, and because I believe red, white, and blue, that's why I made the business name. So it's red, white, and blue Allstate, and that's what brought me to Rainier. Because I live in Tenino, I work out in Yelm, and passed through all the time. I really loved just the hometown feel of Rainier, and that's kind of what brought me to finding a location and putting roots here in Rainier. As a result, I like the term "lift where you stand," and this is where I stand. So I'm looking to lift the community through supporting you guys, through supporting the community that we're all part of. So, with no further ado, we'll go ahead and jump into the presentation. So I propose that we have Saturday, July 2nd, so it's not interfering with the 4th of July activities that most families already have planned, the fireworks and so forth, which is the Saturday before the 4th of July, for us to do the Independence Day celebration. Go ahead to the next slide. So the proposal is to use the park right over here on July 2nd. Time frame proposal is 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. and I have a breakdown of the agenda for the event as well. There's the flyer that I have my graphics guy that I use do up as a visual representation of what the flyer would look like that we would distribute out to develop awareness of the events and hopefully attract people from Rainier as well as also the surrounding rural communities, Yelm and Tenino specifically, to come out. Promotional plan for advertising, how are we going to get the word out there to try to get the foot traffic here to help support our community. So we're going to reach out to local radio stations. KAYO has been a proponent of the community and advertising, so we're hoping to tap into that. Flyers and local businesses, really tapping into that foot traffic that these businesses have. So we will be producing those flyers, spreading them out, and then distributing them ourselves out to all of the businesses and ask them to put them up in their business so there can be a visual representation. Social media is a very inexpensive and quick way to get the word out. So we're going to do an event if this is approved and push that, and then also ask all of the Chamber of Commerce and Yelm to help additionally push it. The weekend before is the whole week before our event would be is the Prairie Days. So we're going to capitalize on that foot traffic there to help get the word out about our event that's the following weekend as well. So that's through word of mouth, through those type of events, as well as also asking anybody and everybody can help spread the word. We're also going to go and talk to Rainier, Tenino, and Yelm school districts and ask them if they would be willing to get approval to add that flyer to distribute out to all of the students and also post it to the schools. So at the end of the day, that's what this event is focused for, as you'll see when we get into our agenda. Churches, daycares, those are organizations that already have trust in their community that they're a part of, as far as the congregation or the parents come through. So if we can get their approval to help spread the word, putting those flyers out will get to the core of who we're trying to attract families and youth out to this activity. Signs for entering and exiting Rainier. I know that's something that I believe has been discussed in the past. That's something that will be on the table for a different year. We won't try to tackle traffic signs up and over the foot traffic, or the drive traffic. Go ahead, next slide. All right, so here's our schedule, proposed schedule of events. So Saturday, July 2nd, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Booth setup and final staging is when that time frame will be done. Noon to 1 p.m. We're going to offer donuts and coffee for all of our volunteers. We do a meeting for all volunteers and a free walkthrough with all volunteers as well. And then I will go into the layout of where things are in one of the next slides. The next one is from 1 to 2 p.m. would be vendors, classic cars. We're hoping to attract a fair amount of classic cars. We've already talked to a few groups, and they don't have anything in the region as far as any of the classic car groups have scheduled on July 2nd. So all of those groups that we will be able to reach out to once we get approval already have that window open if they would like to. Most classic car shows or parts like, as an example, Prairie Days, which is the week before this event, they charge $25 per person per vehicle that comes to the event. We were not asked for that fee in an effort to try to attract them on a short time frame. And then in future years, maybe that's something we can do to help get donations into Rainier, help support this event. Kids activities. So 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. we have kids activities. So the overall thought process is classic type of games, retro games. So we would set up on the field out there stations, and my intent is to use like a chalk line you can see at the football game, and actually line it out on the ground, kind of the walking path, so it's easy to understand when you walk up where you're supposed to walk, and then have each of the booths, or the game stations segmented off by chalk lines on the ground, and then each of those would be manned by a volunteer doing the game. So it would be like Twister as an example. So we found you can just get a cardboard box, cut out a circle, put it on the ground, spray paint green, and the next one spray paint blue, and so you make Twister on the grass. So the kids are doing Twister, and so it's very simple, easy stuff. Beanbag toss, three-legged race, gunny sack races would be some of the group activities. So the intent is to have 20 stations set up on 2 different sides, and in between each station would be vendor booths for vendors to purchase space to have wares to sell or to advertise their company. That would help add the revenue to be able to support continuing this event in the future. And so those vendors, one of the issues we find with vendors a lot of times is that they get set off to one side or a different spot, and everybody just diverts past them, and so they don't get that foot traffic, so they don't want to come back the next year. And so putting them in between each of the booths, and then also we could even ask the vendors if we willing to sponsor the game as an example. So they would provide staffing for those games. So that would then alleviate the requirement for volunteers for further years. For the first year, I wouldn't put that on because we don't have a lot of time. So it's just trying to get to our goal. So there would be all these different games, anything from beanbag toss to matching the ducks. So little rubber ducks that float in a little tiny pool that we put out there, trying to match the ducks. So those type of games that are just fun, easy to do. The reward would be a piece of candy. So we're going to be putting in a donation request to Costco and trying to get bags of candy. So that would be the reward for participating in the game. Was our thought process is a reward for playing those. As far as the group races, we would have at the top of the hour for 45 minutes, we'd have group races. So there'd be the sack races, three-legged races, those type of games. We'd have 4 volunteers for that section, and they would break it down by age groups for doing those races. And we would have poster boards up so people, when they come, they can see, oh, hey, they're going to be doing this race in 15 minutes. Let's go over there. We're also looking at reaching out to the aerial acrobatics that was at the talent show and asking if they would be out there. It seemed like they had some interest, so we're going to solidify that if plans do go forward with your approval. To also have that as something just kind of attractive, be kind of cool to see. They would do that at the last 15 minutes of each hour. That would fill like kind of group activities in addition to the different stations. Okay, so that would be the 5-hour window is when we'd have that open so people would kind of come and go as they would like. 5:30 p.m. we would be doing at the informational booth, which we'll be manning to be able to coordinate and make sure things are actively going cohesively. We would have a judging contest for the most patriotic costume contest. So we'd advertise that as well, and so come in your costumes. We'd have judging for the kids and for the adults, and just crowd cheering, and then that's the person who wins. So that way it gets community engagement involvement, and then everybody's walking around with patriotic stuff as well. 7 to 8 would be vendor checkout, booth breakdown. At that time frame, to help kind of keep the kids out of the way, we would do a glow stick handout. So we would then hand out glow sticks. They're pretty inexpensive. You can get quite a few of them for an expensive amount of time. or amount of money. And so we hand out glow sticks to the kids, and then with permission from the council, we would use the basketball court to do a glow stick dance party. And so they'd have glow sticks on. By then it should be getting close to dusk, kind of dance and wear them out the rest of the way, then send them off with their families back home at that point. So then we do a final park cleanup at 8:30 p.m. And that would conclude our activities for the July 2nd. We're going to go on to the next screen.
Yep. Seriously?
All right, so here's the kids' activities. So water balloon toss. So I've already purchased 1,200 water balloons, the quick fill-up ones you shake off. So the thought process is to have the kids for like a group activity or even individual stations have talent. 2 kids got to pull the talent tight, launch the water balloon, 2 other kids got to catch it. So the simple stuff like that, pretty inexpensive overhead. Twister we've already mentioned, ring toss, rock painting. So our thought process with the rock painting that might be kind of fun is for kids to paint the rocks, and then they could, whoever they thought had the best costume could give that person the rock. So you got a person walking around with a bag full of rocks or something like that. So just some ideas are thrown out there. Cornhole, sidewalk chalk, so with permission, allowing them to decorate the whole walkway all the way down with chalk. That would be one of the stations as an example. Fill the bucket race. So that's where you take a sponge, you squeeze it, fill it up with water. You got to run down to the other bucket, squeeze it out. Whoever can fill the bucket to the line wins that particular race. Yard pong, can knock down. So throw in some tennis ball or something, trying to knock down the cans. Tug of war, sack races, bocce ball, dunk tank. So that would be something fun. It sounds like there's one somewhere around that we could get a hold of. As well as MWR. If you're not familiar, that's the health and welfare activity program for the military. We've already looked at a lot of this stuff we can rent from them for very inexpensive. So that was something to reach out to too. First responders, reach out to them and setting up a station for them to demonstrate and show their amazing vehicles to the youth. It seems to be a very big attraction. And the all right, vendors. So our goal is to try to get to 10 food vendors, as well as have 20 craft or snack vendors. Snack vendors would be in between each of the stations. Food vendors would be, as you'll see on the diagram in our next slide, would be stationed over there, so that way they can also have food over there as well. Proposed vendor fee is $100 per vendor for this year particularly. I do understand that there is an ask for any activities that the city of Rainier receives $25 for each vendor. So that's equated in there as well too. Vendor applications and event insurance. So if we do receive approval from the council, we'll move forward with starting a website. I've already purchased the domain just before we got ahead of this, just in case, but I would stand up a website. I have a webmaster I work with. It's a good friend of mine that does all of my websites. Fairly inexpensive. And that would be a course that we go through to get information about Retro Rainier Days specifically, as well as also vendors, if they want to apply, they can apply directly through there, streamlining the process. Event insurance. So with Allstate, we're able to go through our surplus lines and do event insurance, or if you guys prefer not, then I can reach out to other companies to get that event insurance. Event insurance is fairly inexpensive. We had to get event insurance ourselves for the Lacey Youth Fair that we were at last weekend. It was $50 for a 2-day event, so fairly inexpensive. Next. All right, so here's the proposed layout. So we are just at the very corner there. There's a proposed parking area, first responder and activities. That's where we would set up potentially the car shows, as well as also the first responders, depending on how many of them come up. First aid station, so that's where we would ask the first responders if they would be willing to man the first aid station. The I is the information booth, so that's where we would set up our information booth for anybody with questions, concerns, comments, to be able to come and offer those as well. That's also where we would do the judging, and we have the main PA system with the music playing. It's just a standard, Pandora or something like that. Kids activities, the section up there. Vendors, the kids. So the kids activities, that's where the stack races and group activities would be. Then the vendor games, kid games, and then food vendors would be towards the end, where we think somebody could have access to power if they needed to, or the water outlets that are there as well. As far as the bathrooms, this was just kind of a guesstimation on bathrooms. So we'd be reaching out to Half Moon and several of the other places that have porta potties and seeing if they'd be willing to donate them in support of this event. As a result, they would get advertising space equal to their donation on the website, as well as potentially the flyers that we put out for donating those. And then fireworks, we're not going to be doing this year, but if we did, that was a proposed location to see if we could get approval for that. So, next. All right, volunteers. So we've been reaching out to the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts. We've already had some preliminary talks just in general with them. They were very interested in that and potentially asking them to volunteer and trade for having a booth space to try to find more youth who would like to be a part of those organizations. High school students, always looking for volunteer hours, so in part of reaching out to the school districts, talk to them as well. We Love Rainier, asking for help from our organization, from this organization as well. Local business owners, see if they're willing to sponsor, a game space or come in and at least assist with that. Thurston County Fire District and Thurston County Sheriff's asked them to bring out their vehicles, and that was the first aid station. Next. All right, now here we go. Questions, concerns, comments, feedbacks, ideas, suggestions. Thank you for your time.
Awesome presentation.
Yes, very, very good.
Thank you very much. Tammy and I had talked about this a week ago. It's real encouraging. I think the council will agree with me on this to finally have a business owner come and want to do something for this community.
Yeah.
I've sat over on that side for 14 years before I became the mayor, and I'm over here for 6 years. And we've never had a business owner, to my memory, come in. Dennis, you've been around longer than I have. A business owner want to come in and do something.
Not to this scale.
So, that was the first thing that when you sent the email to Tammy, that Tammy and I looked at each other and go, we need to call a meeting and let you come in and present. So
I appreciate it very much.
I'm glad to see we hopefully have, and hopefully you can get some other businesses. If we approve this, I hope that good luck to trying to get some other businesses to come in and sponsor a booth.
Yeah.
And good luck with doing that. I hope you can do that.
I appreciate that.
So council, why don't we just go around the room? So we're not shooting. Dennis, you go first. We'll just go around the room and ask your questions.
I just had a question about the vendor fee. Why $100?
So I don't want to charge too much.
Well, that's my question. I wonder if that isn't too much.
So it's my understanding that the vendor fee for like the Saturday's market and stuff is substantially less. If we've got to provide $25 to the city for the spot, we need to be able to have enough capital to be able to cover the cost for purchasing, any of the stuff for the games, as well as also some vendors at some point when we get going enough, if we get to that point, which I think we will, you actually have to pay them a certain fee for them to come in to do food vending to cover the basic costs. So there's some stuff like that. But $100 I felt would be sufficient to be able to get donations into We Love Rainier, so we can further force multiply our efforts to be able to do more events than just the 4th of July, just like the events in the current schedule, but maybe even do it more. Because at the end of the day, the stronger we make families in our community, the stronger we make the community, the more attractive that is, the more people want to come. It makes the council stronger and be able to do more.
Well, I guess.
So directly to your, sorry.
I guess my question and my feelings, for events like this, where we're trying to do something for the community, the residents and our neighbors, I question whether we need to make money for the city. Do we really need to get $25 from each vendor for the city? Or what we really want is participation in the community and satisfaction from the community that we're doing something for them, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. And that was going to be a question I was going to propose at the end, if it's possible to request to have that be waived from the city to help us. But then if I'm not able to get stuff donated, that's got to get paid for it some way. So that was part of the vendor fee, to ensure that the candy we're giving out, the glow sticks we have to purchase, the stuff to be able to do the ring toss and all of those type of things, we bill to cover the cost of that. And so that was part of that.
I'm not opposed to the city getting money, particularly if the city has to put out labor to clean up. But if that's being taken care of by the event organizers,
Right.
then that's not an expense that the city incurs.
Absolutely.
And we don't need to get money for that.
Well, although I agree with you, what makes it any different than any of the other festivals we have?
Right? That's a good question.
So this is my question is like, why did we implement the vendor fee if we were just going to keep waiving it for each event? I have no problem waiving it. I was never a fan of increasing it. But what I'm saying is what makes this different than the Roundup Days or the Viking Fest or the car shows. So something to think about.
I agree with that. I'm just saying, wonder, you know, if
I think the Viking Festival charged $150.
So we can come back to that because that's gonna, I mean, that's, could be a decision you guys as a council make if we waive that. So let's get back on. Do you have any other questions or comments for Wade? Yes.
No, I like the idea of having an event. I would have liked to have seen some fireworks, but
Just so do I.
this would have been a good year. It's fairly damp, it's cool.
So far.
Okay, Ron?
I pretty much enjoyed the presentation, thank you, very well put together, and I'm really in support of it. And if necessary, I could see if we did the discussion on waiving the fee, if we did that, I'd want to make that a one-year exception, just because it is the kickoff year.
Right.
But, you know, basically I wouldn't have a problem with doing it this year, just for that purpose, because it's the inaugural of the event. Just to get the money built up the funds, so next year it has something to start it off on.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I have about it.
Tom?
Have we talked to Kevin? You know, he runs the market.
I have not.
Okay. Yeah, because usually they run from 10 to 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock, something like that.
Right.
And so,
Hopefully this would help enhance that as well.
yeah.
And that's why we're on this side away from where they typically set up as well.
You know, he's, with the summertime coming and stuff, they get,
We implemented the vendor fee.
That is
we're talking to them ahead of time.
absolutely.
That's a Saturday market, they don't
Yeah.
worry if.
No, that they don't have mid-2025.
Yeah, but no, yeah.
Except for Rainier around.
Yeah, except around the place, nobody there.
I've just been hesitant to reach out to anybody outside of, prior to having food. I, you know, military background, you guys chain of command, you know, and I feel like that was part of this process with seeing, okay, is it feasible? Okay, it is feasible. Okay, now what's the next step? That's to get approval from the city, before really putting the gas on it and start with that to accelerate.
Yeah, I'm sure there's no concern, I just wanted to make sure that people are aware of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Beforehand.
Absolutely.
So, because I've heard that there's some new vendors coming in, for the market. I don't know, true or not.
Right.
He was actually at the senior center meeting, yesterday, and he spoke to the planners for the summer. And he did mention that his vendors wouldn't be able to afford that fee. And so they do charge, I think, you know, $15 or $25, but they donate that to the senior center. And
But
so that's.
We might be able to work something out with them,
Yeah.
possibly, that they're gonna reap a big benefit from that.
Yeah. Are you guys intending to allow them to still continue that the space not be bothered where they will be? Is that,
I personally, I don't have any problem with it.
they'll still be over there
Yeah, I don't have any
and
problem.
doing their own thing that same
But
day?
let me talk with him, and maybe something can be worked out for that day in particular. As you said, they can waive the fee for once. Maybe something can be worked over there where we can, instead of the donation, go to the senior center, can go to this. Senior center board.
And their fee remains the same?
No, I would suggest that he raises the fee to $25 for that day because there's gonna be a lot of foot traffic. And then that money can go to support the event. I don't know.
I think he did say he reached out to the vendor list and nobody was interested in doing.
Not for the money, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And that's fine. We've already started working on establishing a vendor list, from other events and then events we have coming up, so,
as long as it doesn't affect his market. I think
Right.
it'll be established.
no, of course.
Well, the other thing is too, you can use that area for parking. You have to use that area for parking.
Right, and that's fine. I think we have sufficient parking here and then all the way down this direction. So.
Oh, yeah, that would be.
If we, flag it off and put arrows and directions up, I think we'll be able to handle the flow of traffic. But you never know. Who knows? Maybe there'll be just substantially people and we'll have to do the best we can. In worst case scenario, we got people parking over there, they're gonna water to there as well. Yeah. But good question.
Anything else, Tom?
No, that's not my chatter.
George?
Well, the only comment I have is we mentioned dump tank.
Yes.
And I would think that we would need a fairly high-ranking official in that dump tank, such as the mayor.
It should be warm.
And maybe even have a little donation jar that the dump mayor. So that would be my recommendation.
That could be a big attraction.
I'll be working
Yeah, you should be doing that.
We'll get you like a retro jumpsuit, like.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. His wife is.
We have a wedding in Spokane.
Oh,
Darn.
Well, who's next in line, George?
Well, then I'm sure we can find something.
Anything else, George?
No, that was it. I just wanted to know what I was thinking it was.
Maureen?
Okay, I have about 3 questions. You're saying 1 to 8, your flyer says 2 to 7. Is this not in set in stone? I mean, yourself.
So the 2 to 7 was the most recent update. The very top of that one slide, I forgot to edit, 1 to 7. I was making some adjustments and tidying up time frame. I made it pretty loose to start with.
Oh, okay. So, and I'm gonna go back to what, Dennis was
We have
saying.
an old
So
one.
if you're finding that you're not getting
We have an old
vendors
one.
at $100, are you
Okay.
willing to cut that just to get vendors or?
Potentially. We just gotta start somewhere. And like most of the events that I've done, both with the National Guard and also with other businesses, I mean, $100 is very reasonable, especially if they're selling a product. It's very reasonable for an event. They could attract, a
So
couple
you're
thousand.
saying you're gonna use part of that to help pay for your stuff, for your games and stuff. So let's just say you're not getting that.
Mhm.
Are you still going then to find another way to pay for it and have the event? I mean, is
Yes.
it like a backup
It-
plan?
it's-
Or is it you can't
so-
meet
so-
the goal with the money, is this event not on, or is it a go if the council approves?
That's a great question. So it's a go no matter what. Worst case, so I always start, okay, worst case scenario, what can we, my office, support by ourselves if nobody else? And we can support all of the games and activities, the sack races. And so the core of what the event would be, Retro Rainier, doing kids' activities and games and glow sticks. And so we're able to support that without any other support, based on my team and, I've got 4 kids that are a little bit older, so, put them to work. But anyways, to make that event happen. But I'm very confident that we'll have enough support that it won't come to that. So to answer your question directly, even if we had no funding, we're still gonna make it happen. So my business will front the bill for that if we have to. We're just hoping to not have to.
Okay, and then, so will we have a cost to the city if people need to plug in and use power? I mean, is that going to run through the city?
We don't really have access to power over there, except for at Wilkowski Park, which is a ways away from where your festival will
It's
be.
about 100 feet, 125 feet.
Well, he was saying put the food vendors down that way. in
Yeah,
case
but-
people needed.
So in order for food vendors to be approved by the Thurston County, they have to have their own power source. So they'll likely be running off of that,
Generators.
the
Oh, their own
generators.
generators.
Correct.
Sorry, last question. Basketball court for a dance, is there, what's the surface? I mean, are we okay with, I mean, obviously if kids have tennis shoes and stuff, but we want to be careful what gets put on that surface. don't we?
Well, when it was new, yes, we were very concerned about it, but it seems to be holding up to whatever they're putting it through over there. So with George's street dance, we just asked that like the stage where the band is not gonna be on it, but shoes I feel like are fine.
So the things that are being done on that court now, I mean, a lot of kids are playing basketball, but you know, there's other things going on there. I think we're okay. As long as we, like I said, you keep it to, if this goes, keep it to the dance there. Don't have a stage or vehicles or anything on that. We've always asked that keep them off it. Any other questions?
No.
Do you have any or you let me go?
No, I'm letting you go.
Are you gonna ask after I get done?
I don't think I have anything.
So, are you okay with him Wade providing insurance from Allstate? I don't have a problem with it. Okay, so that takes care of the insurance question, that, generally anytime we give permission to something, you need to have insurance. So, I think council, keep in mind on your vendor fees, I think we have, I know we all kind of where we all can get along, but we need to be careful that we already have Saturday market that is earmarked the area by the church. And we don't want to get into something where we're upsetting one or two or three or four individuals because of a new thing. I mean, we do need to be aware that we basically have already allocated that side of the trail for Saturday market. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't, I know George, you're over there, you got ins with the Saturday market, but we know how people can get upset and feathered ruffled in this community. So that is a concern of mine. Do we reach out to the farmers market and ask them for that weekend? Would they be willing to move to Holiday Park?
No.
I don't know.
They seem to be very excited
About this.
about this
Yeah.
whole event. I mean,
They're aware of it.
and they're well aware of it, and, you know, if we needed to, I'm sure that they'd be willing to move to Holiday Park. They're a pretty flexible group, but I don't know that it's necessary.
I think it would be a boon for them, honestly. Good exposure.
I think we benefit both.
Yeah, the more foot traffic is better for the market. And if you have to leave and go a block to a different place, it's not gonna help.
And to that point, we're hoping to pull from Tenino and Yelm that might not typically see the Saturday market.
Hey, I don't wanna be rude, but I have old ears, and when there's more than one conversation going on, I have difficulty following the main one. Thank you.
So the hopes is to pull from the two, nearest communities, and if they come and participate in this event, they might see the Saturday market. So it'd be a good opportunity for Saturday market to really put the best foot forward to be able to attract business that they don't typically see. People would be willing to travel the 15 minutes from Tenino or from Yelm to participate in future Saturdays. So that's just my thought.
Okay. So my, I guess the last thing then would be, if council's okay with it, you're obviously gonna make a motion here. I think my suggestion would be that, because I think I know you guys are gonna all vote for it, is that maybe before our next meeting, Wade communicate with the Saturday market people and come to our meeting the 1st of June with some type, so we know there's some type of an agreement in place between the Saturday market and what you're calling your festival. That would be my recommendation, so that we know that they're working together and whatever they can work out, they just share with us, but that's my recommendation to the council. So, unless we have other questions,
Yeah, I have a couple comments about the fee issue. I'm kind of in the same boat with Tammy. Unless the city is incurring a cost, like i.e. if the city is the one that has to pay porta potties or something like that. I don't really see that the city needs to get any money. And it may be that we need to revisit that whole thing and look at it seriously. But not tonight, not for this event, let's proceed with what we got. But put that on the back burner for a future time, and get some recommendations from staff and others about whether we really need a fee schedule and what it would be. Because right now, every time something happens, we're changing. So it either should be a set fee or it should be no fee. It shouldn't be changing every time somebody comes along with a new idea.
So let's address, we're gonna come back to that. We first of all gotta decide, Wade's here asking permission to have this festival. So
I move approval of the Independence Day 2 July celebration.
Second.
there's a motion, a second to approve Independence Day celebration. Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so number one thing is provided the insurance, once you get that to Tammy. That's what we always do. Okay. Do we want Wade to get together with the Saturday market and let us know what's going on or not?
I think it's a courteous thing.
Yeah, I'll have him visit you at the office. How's that?
I would ask that then if you could you get them together, George, and you and, what's his name?
Kevin.
Kevin come in at our next meeting, the second Tuesday in June, and just share with us what you guys came up with.
And the second Tuesday in June, if you would like me to, I can give a sit rep, situation report of where we're at, what we have established. If we need to make some adjustments because vendors are coming through, so we can kind of give an idea of where we're at. At that point, we're roughly 2 weeks out. So you said the second Tuesday.
We meet on the second Tuesday.
Okay.
Support.
So we're 3 weeks out-ish from the event, so it'll give us a good idea of any
Okay.
adjustments.
Awesome. So now with that decided, a couple of you have talked about waiving the fees. We have a fee structure right now, so we'd have to have a motion. Do we want, somebody would have to make a motion, we can waive it, we can cut it in half, we can cut it to $10. I'm open for a motion.
We could actually postpone making that decision at this meeting, I think, meeting where it's at, and if it becomes necessary, up to council, or we could just do it tonight.
We'll just do it tonight, then.
Yeah.
Let's do it tonight.
I'm thinking it would help Wade decide if he had to put a fee on or to lower his fee. I know Dennis and Maureen asked him about fees.
I make a motion that we set our fee for this year.
So like Ron said, an integral for
One-time
fee this year.
But that's pretty open. Are you talking specifically for this
For this event.
or for the whole year, for anything?
Could go either way, but I'd just say for this event, yes. For this event, that we just got our fee out for this event.
Now, what do you mean by our fee? You mean the $25 for the city?
Yes.
And still leave the $100?
Well, that's up to them.
Yeah, whatever he wants to charge, but
That's their deal.
Okay, so you're wanting to do away with the city's $25
For this
portion.
event, for this event.
This year.
And that is with the guarantee that any expenses that accrue, the city gets reimbursed for? If for some reason it doesn't get cleaned up and we have to pay the public works crew to come in, maybe on the weekend for overtime?
Then we'd have to bill that, yeah, we'd set bills for all the city.
That's, we giggle, but that's,
That's
No,
important. I agree.
I mean, if it gets to that point, if we did it that way, because that was one of my concerns too. We had some major problem out there that we had to bring our crew in.
If we waive the fees,
And we have to pay them overtime or whatever, something like that.
I think we'll have enough contingencies and mitigations in place that will prevent us from having
I
a
don't know if
situation.
it's a big deal.
I don't foresee that.
I mean, we won't be
I don't
cleaning
know.
it that
I'm just saying
weekend.
it's a
It's our job to look at the possibilities. and
So,
Protect the city.
so let's, somebody please make a motion.
I make a motion that we waive for this particular event, the $25 fee that the city normally collects for a vendor using our park.
So you want to waive the $25 vendor fee for this specific event?
Yes.
Thank you.
This year?
This
Is
year.
there a second?
Second.
I move to amend that motion, that if we're gonna have two events at the same time on the same day that are complementary, that we also waive the fee for the Saturday market.
It's zero now.
The zero now.
We're
It's already
looking at
waived.
it for them. They're not paying.
They're not paying.
They're paying somebody.
They're paying the senior center,
Senior center, they're not paying us.
and his vendors are still gonna pay.
What about the $100 fee to use the park?
And
The car shows pay and the.
That's-
Yeah, wait a minute, do we get to comment?
I wasn't.
Well, we've got a motion, a second, and an amendment. We have a second to the amendment.
About a second.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second to waive the city's $25 vendor fee for this one-time year. Any further discussion?
Yes,
Maureen?
I'm gonna go back to what Tammy said. We have a fee structure in place for a reason. So if we waive it for this, then your next group's gonna come in and they're gonna expect it to be waived. So then why do we have a fee structure?
I agree.
That's why we have it coming up in the future to discuss this.
Okay, so, but there's a fee structure in place right now, and I think we need to honor that, because all other groups have had to honor that.
Saturday market doesn't.
We've already changed that. I changed it, what, like 2 meetings ago or something?
We also have to consider the $100 fee that we charge to use the park. The car shows will both be paying it this summer. The Viking Festival was going to before they moved. So are we waiving it because this is like the kickoff? We're gonna see how it goes, which I'm fine with if that's what you decide to do. I'm just bringing this to,
I think
Lights.
that's what we decided to do because this was the kickoff, and then it was suggested that we address the fee at a different time in general, where we can have a discussion about the fee, whether that's at our retreat or wherever, and then make any adjustments we wanted to make, I guess, I don't know.
That's what I thought.
I would have a question
Okay,
about
no,
future events.
no, this is not open public, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, she said it was.
What?
I thought you guys said it was open.
No,
for
no,
comment.
no,
It's just-
no, I'm
No,
sorry.
I asked if I could make a comment, and then you said yes.
You guys.
Yeah.
I didn't really-
Okay, well, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, so we do have to vote. So there's a motion and a second to waive the $25 vendor fee this one-time year. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, so motion passed 3-2. Thank you, Counselor.
who
So
made the motion?
I guess I
George made it and Ron Kemp seconded, I think.
Thank you,
Am I right? Tom did.
thank you.
Okay, so you have everything you need.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna report back to us at your next meeting. You're gonna get insurance to Tammy. And you still do have the one-time the vendor fee has been waived, but you got the $100 fee that, what's it called?
Park fee.
Park fee. Unless doesn't look like we're discussing that fee. Okay. Anything else, council?
I just, a couple of, are you gonna make contact with the NVN and try to get them out here to take some pictures and do some interviews?
Municipality.
Municipality.
I haven't put that on the agenda yet, but that's something
I mean, it'd be nice to get some advertisement.
absolutely.
We'll contact them to come out and do an interview with you prior to the event so that they can do some.
I don't think so.
Well,
And then the day of the event, but
And who's he gonna contact?
I'll contact.
Well,
Oh, you want the city to contact?
I-
You want to contact?
no, I don't.
I can reach out to them. It's on our agenda for some of our advertising marketing stuff.
I think that's part of the
We just didn't list it
responsibility that
specifically.
they gotta organize it.
I'm good with whatever.
And then Wade, you're gonna deal with the porta potties.
I'm gonna try to, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll get it
We
figured.
will need, you'll need to provide porta potties.
Yeah.
You will need to provide porta potties,
Understood.
so however it is, and whatever you think you need for the number of crowd you have down there.
That's it, yeah.
Anything else you need?
No, I'm good.
Anything else? Thank you, Wade.
Okay, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I move we adjourn.
There's a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Meeting adjourned 5:50 PM. Thank you, council.
Yeah.